February 22nd, 2020. My name is Lori Kurtz, pronouns she, hers. Would you introduce yourself, say your pronouns if you care to, and tell us all the jobs you do?
My name is Kat Wondergloom. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm a producer of Love, Lust, and Leather Burlesque and a burlesque performer.
Great. So what is burlesque?
Burlesque, by definition, is to exaggerate or parody something. It is a mixture of creativity and sexuality. A burlesque show consists of acts, usually containing comedy and striptease.
And why do you do burlesque?
I enjoy the sense of community. I have been in quite a few troupes and have guest spotted in a few more shows than that. And I just appreciate the way that everybody comes together. I appreciate the sense of community. I like the support system that it gives to branch out, and it supports queer art. I appreciate the empowerment aspect, and yeah.
Great.
Okay.
And just for people who don't know, what's the difference between stripping in a strip club and stripping in burlesque?
So I would say the costuming is different. The money is handled differently. There's not an element of touch really in burlesque. And I think the biggest difference is the views of the people who don't have experience with one or the other or both. So like the viewpoints of the outside world.
Yeah. And when you say touch, do you mean audience-performer interaction, or what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so I mean like there's no special lap dances or things of that nature to get more money. Of course, there's audience interaction as far as like wanting to have your audience participate in your show, maybe performing games or things of that nature. But there's not really an element of touch between the performer and the audience member.
Yeah. Where does burlesque fit in the spectrum of sex work?
So basically, I kind of believe that we are the audience's therapist. We sometimes act out fetishes they realize they'd like to explore, or shame that they think that, they have surrounding certain things. In my show, Love, Lust, and Leather, we perform spankings and floggings for a small fee. And sometimes this is the first kind of interaction that people have with being kinky.
So you mentioned like therapists, and some people talk about the sexual healing aspect of burlesque. Do you see that, or how do you see that play out?
Yeah, so are you asking about the people that are watching it or the people that are performing it?
Oh, good question. Tell me about both.
So I feel like the people that are performing it kind of get the sexual healing from it because we are able to express our sexuality and our gender and our queerness, if that pertains to us, in a way that not many other art forms kind of allow themselves to do so. We're able to put that at like the forefront and kind of put it in people's faces, and they're paying for us to do it, which is fabulous.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, as far as the audience goes, the sexual healing is kind of with the watching us, possibly perform something that they've never seen before, never explored before. Like I said, in Love, Lust, and Leather, we are very kink-based, and some people kind of see that and think like, oh, I've never even thought of that kink before.
Can you talk about the do-it-yourself, and I don't mean versus professional aspects of burlesque, but there's a nice wide range of production and participation in burlesque. Can you describe that?
Yeah. So as far as like production and participation, I like it because you can kind of, the thing about burlesque is that you don't need to take certain dance classes or, the way that like ballet is, you have to have years of experience and then you have to wear certain costumes and you have to do certain things. The thing about burlesque is that everything is sort of different depending on the performer. It's all, as you were saying, do it yourself. You make your costumes. You decide on the music. You decide on your choreography. And then a lot of people like myself are getting into producing. And the thing that I like about producing my own burlesque show is that I get to kind of go outside the norm of what people think burlesque is supposed to be. Love, Lust, and Leather is a kink, body, gender-inclusive variety show. We focus on bodies of all sizes, people of all genders, kinks of all kinds, and ages, all people of all ages, and people of all abilities. So I think that that's really important. Some people may choose to have, classic shows with skinny girls, and that's totally okay. That's a totally valid form of burlesque, but that's just not the form that I choose to, have my ideals in.
Yeah, yeah. So, where were you born and where did you grow up?
I was born in Modesto, California, and I grew up in Antioch, California, in the Bay Area.
Yeah. And are you from an artistic family?
So my dad and my brother are really good artists. They like to draw, but I'm the only person that is kind of following an artistic career.
Yeah, yeah. And what do they think of your performance art?
So, my dad knows very little about it. He knows that I produce variety shows, but I think that's kind of the extent that he knows. He knows there's like drag queens involved, and other sorts of like skits and things like that, but he doesn't know the striptease aspect. My mom is very supportive. She has taken me to the New Orleans Burlesque Festival, and where I've kittened.
What is that?
Kittening? Kittening is the person that picks up after each performer to ensure that they have all of their belongings. They exist because it creates a more professional air to the performer, instead of picking up after themselves after they've just stripped away all their costuming. It just looks more professional to have somebody else do it for you. Although I have, early in my career, been one to, scoop up all my clothing and all my tips and everything after that, and just doesn't have the same effect.
And so what brought you to Oregon then?
So, Southern Oregon University, actually. I went there and studied art from California. I moved when I was 17 to move into the dorms and pursue art.
Right. And what year was that?
That was 2010.
And did you do anything in your formative years that led you to performance?
So when I was little, we used to put on talent shows for my family where we would sing and dance. And then in middle school, I started acting in a local children's theater, which I think is where I began realizing my passion for theater and the stage and just performing live for people. In high school, I became interested in the techie side of theater, the backstage, sound, lights, prop design, set design, etc. And as well as producing. And I actually won an award for the best producer of a school play my senior year.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
And so you went to Southern Oregon University. Any other formal education? Did you get a degree?
I got a degree there. I got a Bachelor of Arts in Studio Arts, and then I minored in philosophy.
Great. And then in performance, do you have any other training?
So like I said, I grew up doing children's theater, and in high school I pursued acting. I also did improv in high school. I was the only girl on the improv team. And like I said, technical theater. I was also on the color guard team in high school, which if you're not familiar with color guard is, it's the people that do the flag twirling and my biology teacher would call us the reject cheerleaders. So basically we were the ones that performed with the band.
Great. Have you ever been to BurleyCon?
Yes, I have been to BurleyCon. I went to BurleyCon 10, where I took some classes, both in dance and production. I was able to take a class with one of my idols, Lola Frost. Yeah, she's fabulous. And trying to think of what else. Yeah, I guess that's all I'd like to say about that.
Sure. And then was there anyone, an icon or a hero, Shiro, that was
Shiro.
an influence?
I've heard that before. That's great.
That was an influence or inspiration?
So in the children's theater, I would say that my hero was it sounds kind of cliche, but it was the director, Frank Ballesteros. He, because I was spending so much time in the theater, pretty much all my free time and then some, he became kind of like a father figure when I didn't have one. So that was really nice. And then when I went to high school, my theater teachers were really supportive. Jackie and Robert, they kind of are... Theater in high school is how I came to know about Ashland. We visited the Shakespeare Festival and that sort of thing. And when I kind of transplanted here, they were very supportive. They continued to come here yearly with their class, and then I would visit with them. And then when I got into burlesque, they were also very supportive of that. And so they've kind of, it sounds cliche, but they kind of just inspired me to follow my dreams and stick with the theater aspect.
Nice. In what year and how did you get started in burlesque?
So I found out about burlesque in my sophomore year of college. So in about 2011, first I kind of heard about it through burlesque dancer Dita Von Teese, who is sort of the poster child for burlesque right now, just as far as like what most people, when they've heard of burlesque, that's what they know and think of. But I kind of pursued it further, looking into podcasts, looking into YouTube videos, reading up on it, websites and everything like that. And I found a ad in I found an ad on the internet for a local burlesque troupe that was forming, and so I kind of messaged them, and they were very open to new performers, and so I joined their troupe, and there were a few drag queens in the troupe, and they kind of taught me about makeup and costuming, and then the director of the troupe kind of taught us about marketing, and that's kind of how I started with my producing. The very first show that I produced was called the Rockin Pin Up Revue at Johnny B's in Medford. And actually, we have a show coming up in Medford. I can't think of the date right now, but at Johnny B's. And so it kind of feels like it's coming full circle.
Yeah. And what do you do outside of burlesque to pay for your art?
So I'm a nanny. I've been a nanny for 4 years. I nanny twins, teenage twins. I also do a lot of like side hustling. I sell content, I sell clothing, and I recycle bottles and cans, which I know is extremely glamorous. And I also try to occasionally teach workshops as well as make costume pieces for people.
Yeah. How did you learn your costume skills?
Costume skills. So my costume skills, when I say costuming for people, I mostly mean like rhinestoning, or like bedazzling. Embellishing is what I should call it. That's probably the better term for that. But it just took practice, mostly on my own costumes. And lots of hot glue and E6000.
So we live in Southern Oregon, and your career is in traveling in a lot of small towns. Astoria, well, Bend isn't really a small town, but can you describe what it's like, burlesque is like in the various small towns and the venues, and just paint us a picture of each of those places?
Yeah, so I would say that a lot of them are similar. The difference is that how much you come to know your owners or your contacts at the venue, and then how much, not control you have over the advertisement, but your ability to advertise. And what I mean by that is, so local shows, I'm able to put up posters, pass out flyers, give out business cards, things of that nature. Word of mouth is really important. But in shows that are farther away, especially shows that I've never, or cities that I've never performed at before, I don't have the word of mouth more than what the venue can provide, or the posters that they can put up, things like that. Street teams are possible. I don't know if you know what a street team is. Mm-hmm. A street team is a group of people that is kind of your advertising team. They put up posters and get the word out. They do a lot of social media, which is good if they're, like I said, if they're local, then they know the groups that they can post in and things like that on social media. Social media is a really big advertising way, though. I have a whole list of groups that I post when I have shows in. Yeah. For each individual city that I perform in.
Right. So, for example, in Astoria, if you were going to produce sorry, I'm going to mess it up, Love, Leather, and Lace. Did I get it close?
Love, Lust, and Leather.
Lust and Leather.
That's okay.
show, what would that be like from like start to finish? You decide to do a show and you...
Yeah, so first, am I allowed to say names? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so the woman that I'm in contact with in Astoria, her name is Terry. She owns the Labor Temple as well as the sports bar in town, the Maritime Bar. The Maritime Bar is actually where I met her and got my start in Astoria. But anyways, she has since kind of focused the burlesque more at the Labor Temple now that she owns that. It's a bigger venue, and it just lends itself better to that art form. But basically, we're in contact pretty regularly, and she messages me or I message her saying like, oh, I have this idea for a show, or she says, hey, I have these dates available for shows. Are you available to do them? And then I kind of look at my calendar, of course. I use Google Calendar, and everything is like color coded depending on like what days are shows or what days I need to travel for shows, and big work engagements and other things of that nature. But then, we confirm. I usually consult Bayou Betty. She is my main host of Love, Lust, and Leather. If she is available, then she is my first choice of host. Otherwise, it's Bella Nocturne, who is Seattle-based. And I like having her in my shows anyways. And then I put out a casting call saying, I have this show coming up. Here's the guarantees that I can do. Do I need to explain what a guarantee is? Sure. Okay. So a guarantee is the amount of money that you are promised as like a flat fee to receive for a certain number of acts. And the things that when I am making a guarantee, I take into account how long you've been doing it, how, I kind of like to know your training or your background kind of thing. Because if you're a newbie or whatever, you definitely still deserve to be paid. I firmly believe that newbies and kittens and anybody like that, if you're using their time, they deserve to be paid. But anyways, so a guarantee, it includes if you are giving them lodging, and then if... oh, sorry. I was like, what does that mean? Okay. And then lodging, and then also how far away they're coming from.
Wow. How do you provide lodging?
So I'm not always able to provide lodging. It just depends on the venue and if they are able to provide some kind of stipend when it comes to lodging, or if they give us a guarantee as like a flat fee for the amount of performers, then sometimes I'm able to work it into the availability for the performers. But normally what we do is we share a hotel or an Airbnb, or sometimes we stay with friends if that's available.
Yeah. That's a lot of work producing.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And so the audience, who are the folks who are typically drawn to a burlesque performance?
So, drawn to a burlesque performance or drawn to our burlesque performance?
Oh, both.
Okay. So, when people hear burlesque, they often think of the movie, because not everybody has very much experience with it otherwise. Another thing they think of is kind of like Vegas showgirls. The skinny, big feathers, generally cis white, kind of still sparkly, still, still very glitter induced. But I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, I just was wondering what kind of
audience members.
What you've observed about the audience.
Of course. So for Love, Lust, and Leather, like I said, we are a queer burlesque troupe, and we advertise it as such. We also advertise that we're body positive, and so a lot of people come for that. I kind of say that we're like the punk rock version of burlesque, and that doesn't really, that doesn't really have to do with the music that we use. Although, people like Betty and Sarah do use punk music. But what I'm saying is it isn't the classical feather fans and gowns and things like that. It's very much neo-burlesque. Would you like me to explain neo-burlesque versus classical burlesque? Okay. So classical burlesque is the gowns, the very sultry music. Fan dancing is big in classic burlesque. And then neo-burlesque is you can use any type of music. You can use no music at all. You can use clicking sounds. Whatever you think that whatever you think that would fit best with your act. Costuming is different. It can be anything you want. You don't have to have a certain dance background in neo-burlesque, or, choreography for that matter. You want to have an idea, but it can be improv. And it doesn't have to be like what Bayou Betty kind of explains as like doing the wash, which is you wash your arm, you wash your legs, you wash your chest, that kind of thing, and the prance and peel. So yeah, those are the differences between neo and classic burlesque. But Love, Lust, and Leather kind of is geared more toward neo-burlesque. And so the audience members kind of know that. And in Astoria in particular, word of mouth has gotten around because I've been performing there now for 4 years or so. And so Love, Lust, and Leather has become kind of like a name. And when we come to town, we have regulars. Some people come from Portland, and we get Kerfuffle, which is the local troupe there. A lot of people from Kerfuffle come. And so it's a mixture between locals and then Portland and performers, I would say.
So how do you get a bar or a venue to partner with you to produce a show?
So first what I do is I go to the venue's website and I look for some kind of contact email. Email is best. Some people use social media, and I just think that email is more professional, although social media is more updated or common, I guess I would say. The nice thing about email is that you can connect to your drive or things like that, to show video and things of that nature. But what I do is I have a highlight reel from a Love, Lust, and Leather show that I did at the Talent Club. And I send that to them, and then I usually complement it with a video of just myself performing, so that they can see a whole act. And then I say, here's what I can offer you. Here's the economics of it. What do you think? And I mentioned my accolades, like dancing for Hubba Hubba Revue. And then I won Best Performing Artist in 2015. And then sometimes, and then I'll wait for a response, and sometimes the response is, no thank you. Sometimes it is no response at all. And then sometimes when you're lucky, you get something positive, like, yes, I would love to do that. Let's talk more. And then you go from there.
Great. You just mentioned a couple of things I don't want to lose. What is Hubba Hubba Revue?
Hubba Hubba Revue is a really big, well-known show in San Francisco and Oakland. They have 2 different venues. It is run by Jim Sweeney. They have a Monday show, I believe, in Oakland, obviously weekly. And then they have a monthly show that's their big show. And performers come from all over, literally from different countries to be in Hubba Hubba shows. So it looks really good on a resume. And it's really great community. You get to meet people, like I said, from all over. I have performed for Hubba twice.
Yeah. And you mentioned winning an award in 2015.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So that was for the Rogue Valley Messenger. They did a vote on a bunch of different artistic band they did a vote on different local bands and things in the area, theater, just all different kinds of art forms. And so one of the awards was Best Performing Artist, and I was voted number 1.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
So back to getting a bar or a venue let you produce shows there. Mm-hmm. What is the economic argument that you make?
So it just depends. It depends on the venue. Basically, what I do is I ask first for a guarantee, and then if that doesn't work, then I say, okay, well, then let's keep the door, the cover charge for the show, and then we also get to keep all of our tips. And then something that I do in my shows to ensure that people are definitely getting paid is that we do a raffle, we do a game, and then we do floggings and spankings, and all of those things cost money to do. And so all of that extra money together, everybody splits. And then normally we like to ask also for some kind of bar tab or drink tickets or meal tickets. So any combination of those things.
So you travel to perform at festivals and shows. Do you do shows that one has to apply to?
Let me think about that for a moment. I don't do that many shows that I apply to. And I think that, the reason that I don't has a lot to do with what we call in burlesque imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is when you feel like you, I don't want to use the word imposter in the definition because that wouldn't make sense. But basically when you feel like you're not at the caliber that people expect you to be. And so although I produce my own shows and I have fears about rejection, of course, everybody does. But I guess that's all I want to say about that. I don't know how to elaborate on that.
Sure. Well, this all sounds very busy. Can you describe a week in the life of Cat Wondergloom?
Yes.
What do you do? I don't know how you fit the nannying. Can you just give us an arc of a week?
Yes. Okay. So I have my days extremely planned. It drives my boyfriend a little bit crazy. Basically, I use a Google Calendar to, and like I said, I color code everything to keep everything on track. And then I also have a burlesque notebook. So any ideas that I have, or anytime somebody says like, oh, I need to change an act, or I need to change anything having to do with the burlesque stuff, I keep a notebook, and then I keep a copy of that in my phone. And so I use all those things to organize, first of all. And then, so basically what my week looks like is, weekdays, every weekday, I nanny. And then, Monday nights, Tuesday nights, and Friday nights are spent with my friends or my partner. Wednesday nights, Thursday mornings are spent on a show, like specifically we'll sit down and work out show logistics, do choreography, work on costuming, things like that. Now that's not to say that those are my only times. I'm constantly, like I said, I keep my burlesque notebook with me everywhere I go, and then I also have that stuff in my phone. So anytime, something comes to mind, or I set reminders, the 1 month mark before a show, put out poster, a 1 month poster, or contact this person for this show, or double check that these people can confirm for this show. So I'm constantly working on show stuff, but my week as it stands is kind of designated in that way, as far as the days. Oh, and then of course weekends. Saturdays I do shows, and then Sundays I just quit. I was working 3 jobs. I just quit one of my jobs as a beauty consultant at a department store. That's what I was doing on Sundays. So I would come back from a show and then I would immediately go to work. So I have no free days. I have no free time. But I like it that way. I have ADHD, and so keeping my mind busy is very helpful for me, and then all of my lists are super helpful for me. I use an app. Is it okay if I talk about an app?
Yeah.
I use an app called Todoist, like to-do list without the L, and you are able to break up things you need to do into projects, tasks, and subtasks, and then you can also color code everything. And so it'll send you you can schedule things, and it'll send you reminders and tell you the to-do things that you have for the day and things like that. So I'll use that a lot too.
So shifting to more artistic aspects, you just mentioned creating a new piece of the theater of burlesque. What is your process for creating a new piece for you to perform?
Yeah, so it usually starts with either a song or an idea. Sometimes I hear a song and I just like feel it in my bones, and I feel like I need to perform this. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I don't know what I'm gonna wear. I don't know, what the kind of overall theme is gonna be, but I just know that I have to perform this song. One of the examples is Save My Soul by Big Bad Voodoo Daddy. I was obsessed with that song for like a year before I finally decided to actually make an act out of it. And then the other way that I create acts is from an idea. So like for my bad romance act, it's an act where I am dressed as a turkey, and then I have a 50s housewife, and she undresses me or dresses me, right? She takes off my feathers and everything, and then she prepares me for Thanksgiving dinner. And it ends with her about to stick a turkey baste in my rear. And And so that was my idea, starting out, but I didn't know what song I would do. I ended up using a bossa nova version of Lady Gaga's Bad Romance. So, so like I said, it just depends on if I have the idea first or the song first.
Yeah. And then where do you get your costumes and props?
So I do burlesque on a budget. I Bayou Betty says that if you find something sparkly or you find something weird, you should just buy it. I mean, obviously if you can, but and then keep it, and then because you never know what you're going to use or what's going to spark inspiration later. So I shop at a lot of Goodwill, thrift stores, consignment stores, that kind of thing. And then for my under things, for bra and panties and things like that, I usually shop at department stores, like cheap department stores. My whole thing is functional but affordable, and of course comfortable. Comfortable is a big thing in burlesque because you don't want to have your bra digging into your chest while you're, trying to fan dance or do other things. And then what I do is I shop at Dollar Tree and I buy Dollar Tree rhinestones, and they look just as good as Swarovskis when you have them covering everything and it hits the light just right. And another thing I would say is use good glue, because you don't want to put in all that work and then have it fall apart. Hot glue has a time and a place. Tawdry Hepburn, who is on my troupe in Eugene, called Unveiled, her tagline is "held together with hot glue and a dream." She makes some amazing things, props and outfits and things, out of literally just hot glue and cardboard. It's amazing. So, I definitely feel like burlesque can definitely happen on a budget.
Yeah. And we've been listening to some noise from outside, so just to explain that. So around some topics, cultural, sociological topics, around cultural appropriation, what are your thoughts about that in terms of burlesque and how it's used or misused?
Yeah, so first I think I would like to kind of describe what I would consider cultural appropriation. And so I would think that's the adoption or practices of a marginalized group adopted by people of a more, what word would I use? Dominant group, I guess is what I would use. And so ways that people do that is, people who do cultural based acts that don't follow the culture that those people actually are a part of. So that can include Sugar Skull Dia de los Muertos. That can include geisha sort of acts. Some genie acts can fall under that sort of thing. And so I think what the most important rule is, at least the one that I follow, is that if you are worried that it might be racist, it's probably racist. So the best thing to do is to ask people who you think it might offend. Ask people that, and it also has to do, I think, a little bit with you have to take into account people who are not cis, straight, white people. Ask people, and people that are not your friends. Ask people that are also in the business and say, hey, do you think this is racist? Do you think this is cultural appropriation? See what they think.
So on the topic of diversity, how do you define diversity and how do you go about achieving that in shows that you produce?
Yeah, so I would define diversity as a variety, or like a range of different things. Excuse me. The way that I achieve diversity in Love, Lust, and Leather is I go out of my way to invite performers of color, people of different abilities, people of different genders, races, all that. And I think people of different levels as well. Like, I like to include a newcomer each show, whether that be a performer or a kitten or a money bunny, which is or also known as the tip tart. It's the person that collects tips and, kind of controls the money for the show. But I feel like that's a really great way to get new people into the show. I think that's another great way to get people that you haven't worked with before into the show. So yeah, just go out of your way to invite people. Don't wait for them to come to you. Make sure that your show is accessible, and I mean that both physically, like for people with different abilities, as well as people of different cultures and people of different genders and things of that nature. Make sure it's open for everybody. Make sure it's a safe space.
When we first started talking, you said you did burlesque because of how it empowers you. What can you explain more about that?
Yeah, so something that I think a lot of people don't understand is the amount of control that you have in burlesque. I kind of mentioned it earlier a little bit. Basically, you're able to control your choreography, your costume, your music, your lighting, the way that you're introduced, the way that you interact with the audience. Everything is controlled. You tell the audience what to think, what to see, how to feel. And I think that that's extremely empowering. You are able to express yourself, your sexuality, your humor, your intelligence, in a safe space. So, yeah.
And then people talk about how burlesque can be a force for social change. You've touched on some of that. Can you explain a little more?
Yeah, so what I feel that burlesque does is kind of give a voice to marginalized groups. It kind of, it puts them at the forefront, creating space for them. It's a great way to talk about social issues. These can include gender inequality. A big one is fat phobia, and race, of course. So it kind of, like I said, gives people a voice, and kind of makes people sit down, shut up, and listen.
Is the very fact of the kinds of people you just described being on stage a political act?
I believe that it would be, especially for Black women, and queer people, and fat people. All of those people, I mean, just look at Lizzo. She is all of those things, and she has such a strong following, and she's able to kind of create this cult following, because we've never seen anything like that before. Yeah.
What are challenges facing burlesque today?
So I think a couple of challenges, like I was saying, is the fat phobia is a big one of directors or producers not wanting their acts to look or specifically that they do want their acts to look a certain way, and performers of all sizes do not necessarily fit into that, as well as performers of color do not always fit into that. Another thing is, personally, is for me or, other performers to charge their worth. What you have to do is you have to obviously take into account the face value expenses such as travel, hotel, food, gas, those things. But then you also have to take into account the years that you've been performing, the experience that you have, the amount of time that you put into your costuming, the amount of time that you put into your choreography, your hair, your makeup, the classes that you've taken to do all of those things. And I think all in the amount of distance that you've traveled, I think people forget. And so putting all those things together can create a pretty substantial guarantee. And so sort of a balancing act that we have to do as performers is do a cost benefit analysis of well, this is how much it would cost me, my time, my gas, etc. But this is what I'm getting out of it, whether that's, money or video, photos, networking, contacts, things of that nature. So sometimes even if you're not making that much money on a show, you're still making really good progress in your kind of your arc.
And then what do you want the general public to know about burlesque?
So I think that the most important thing about burlesque is that it's for everybody. It is... You don't have to have a certain amount of money or spend a certain amount of money. You don't have to wear certain costumes, dance a certain way, have a certain dance background, look a certain way, whether that be race, gender, body type. And it just takes dedication to your art and creativity. It's very empowering. And I think that people just need to get into it, laugh, and, immerse yourself in the glitter. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.